Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
A modern inhabitant of a metropolis, by definition, has to spend a lot of time driving. And it is no longer necessary to be a professional driver. Just to get to work, you often have to spend from 30 to 60 minutes, the same amount, to return home. And then there are household chores, such as supermarket visits, and finally, trips to have a good time. In short, the car for many of us has become a second home, providing a sufficient level of comfort not to consider themselves in any way disadvantaged. But as for nutrition, there are quite objective obstacles that do not allow to have a snack on the go. But it is one thing to deny yourself the pleasure of eating your favorite hamburger or a portion of dumplings on the way, and quite another to drink a cup of hot, invigorating tea or coffee. If you have a car kettle, such a procedure can be performed at any time and in unlimited quantity, if you have enough water. However, when choosing such a car accessory, you should take into account a considerable number of factors that justify the use of this or that variety of these devices. How to choose a kettle from the cigarette lighter, what to pay primary attention to, how to use the device correctly, all these questions we will try to consider today. Car kettle, what is this device? The purpose of any kettle, including a car kettle, is to heat water to the required temperature, usually to boiling. For obvious reasons, a car kettle differs from its household counterpart by its smaller size and often shape, and, of course, the way of heating. Since there is number 220V household outlet in the car, the device is powered from the onboard network, the nominal value of which is limited to 12 volts. For this purpose, it has a cord connected to the standard cigarette lighter socket. The device can work both in standalone mode. When the engine is shut off, power is supplied directly from the battery, and during a trip, when the kettle is powered from the generator. The time of heating water can vary greatly depending on what type of kettle from the cigarette lighter into the car is used, but in any case, it is comparable to the time spent on boiling with a conventional electric kettle. And this boiling water can be used at will, not only for making coffee. Varieties of car kettles. In general, the principles of functioning of heating devices operating from the cigarette lighter do not differ from their older counterparts, and they are just as diverse. It should be noted only that if cars have a nominal power supply in the onboard network is 12 volts, then for heavy-duty vehicles, as well as for large SUVs and vans, it is 24 volts. Due to the limited voltages, the volume of kettles for cars is also reduced to 0.5 to 1.5 liters, and 1.5-liter devices are already real monsters. Let's consider the classification of auto kettles depending on their design features. Boilers, the simplest type of device designed to bring relatively small portions of water to boiling. Externally, it is a reduced copy of household boilers. That is, it is made in the form of a spiral with a large value of electrical resistance. Being connected to the cigarette lighter socket, such an electric kettle for the car is strongly heated, giving heat to the water, in which the spiral is immersed. Due to this heat exchange, the coil does not burn out, so the use of a boiling kettle without liquid is inadmissible. The main advantages of such heating devices are the simplicity of design and, accordingly, low cost, as well as modest size, allowing you to store the boilers even in your pocket. However, the inconvenience of use. The device must be lowered into the mug and ensure its stability, which is not always possible. During the movement of the car, as well as a relatively small capacity, designed to boil one, maximum 2 portions of water, do not contribute to the growth in popularity of such devices. Read also, what racks are better to choose? Gas or oil car electric kettles. They are a smaller analog of conventional electric kettles. However, in some cases it is quite comparable to its older counterparts, both in size and capacity. 1.5 liters is the minimum standard for household devices. But the power of a 12-volt kettle in the car is much more modest. The maximum value rarely exceeds 400 W, which is due to the limited capabilities of the onboard power grid. Such a device performs its work, but the heating speed may be 2 to 5 times less than that of more powerful household analogs. As a matter of fact, This is the main disadvantage of this type of kettles. The second, and no less significant, can be called too high power consumption. Simultaneous operation of this device and, say, the climate system, most likely, will be impossible. But you get at your disposal a rather small, lightweight, ergonomic, and easy-to-use device, which you are probably used to at home or at work. Car kettles with thermos functions. Such appliances can be called multifunctional. After all, in addition to the ability to heat/boil a certain amount of liquid, you can count on a sufficiently long retention of high water temperature. As a rule, the body of such a kettle for the car, working from the cigarette lighter, is made of a special type of stainless steel, which completely solves the problem of corrosion and is characterized by high thermal conductivity. Plastic thermos kettles are less practical. They are fragile, afraid of mechanical impact, quickly get dirty, and therefore it is more difficult to care for them. They cost more expensive than ordinary car kettles with a spiral, which is more than compensated by their heat-saving functionality. Heated thermoses. They can be made in the form of a mug with a heating function, i.e., it is not a full-fledged thermos, and the heating itself is carried out to a maximum of 60-70 oC. But such devices cope with their tasks, maintaining the required temperature or heating water to a given value. Their main advantage is the heating speed, which is higher than that of a car electric kettle, as well as a democratic cost. But at one time you cannot get more than one person drunk, and this is an undeniable disadvantage. Much more preferable is the use of portable thermoses with a heating function, which are also focused on power from the onboard power grid. They are often confused with auto kettles, which have a function of heat preservation. The main difference is that thermoses do not boil water, plus it can automatically maintain the set temperature for as long as you want, using for these purposes low-power heating elements. Usually the capacity of such car thermoses does not exceed 1 liter. Additional functionality of electric kettles for cars. The flourishing of microelectronics has allowed many manufacturers of car accessories to constantly increase the functionality of their products, including car kettles. This also contributes to the growth of competition between firms specializing in the production of such equipment. It is not surprising that today in the sale can be found auto kettles, endowed with properties that maximally simplify their use. Both direct and indirect purpose. Kettles often include 1 or 2 mugs, which are usually made of the same material and have the same coloring, that is, made in a single interior design. The cover for the kettle allows you to protect it from mechanical damage in case of accidental drops and collisions with other hard objects. Indicator of the current liquid temperature, another useful function, especially for those people who are very sensitive to the temperature of their favorite beverage, whether it is tea, coffee, or warm/hot compote. The presence of a safety relay in the first generations of kettles was not common, but today it is already a standard that increases the safety of using such a device. Turning off the kettle after boiling also reduces the load on the vehicle's onboard network. If you often drive in the dark, the backlight in the kettle will be very useful. You will not have to turn on the interior light bulb in the dark to locate the device. Some models are equipped with a mount, which allows you to solve one of the most important problems of car kettles, their low stability and ability to tip over, which is extremely important for a car. The possibility of using another cord with a plug allows you to install the kettle anywhere in the car, even on the back seat or on the elevated position near the rear window. This option is usually not available with the standard cord. Read also how to choose or assemble with your own hands a fuel pressure gauge for measuring fuel pressure. Important nuances when buying a car kettle. To begin with, you should decide on the choice of the type of heating device, but this is far from the only factor that affects the performance characteristics of car kettles. What else you need to pay attention to when going to an auto store? The power of the device, liter, time spent on boiling, dimensions of the kettle, its functionality. If we talk about power, this parameter correlates with the heating time. The more powerful the device, the faster you can get the desired boiling water. However, it should be taken into account that 400-watt devices are able to heavily load the onboard power grid, which at certain moments can lead to failure of electrical equipment. Kettles with a capacity of about 100 W are the optimal choice, allowing you not to worry about the modes of operation of all connected electrical equipment. The heating time is also affected by the working volume of the device. The recommended capacity is 1 liter, but if you travel mostly alone and do not abuse hot drinks, a half-liter kettle will be enough. For large companies, the most suitable will be devices with a capacity of 1.5 liters, but they take longer to warm up and occupy more space, which is not very good in conditions of space shortage. Usually, the time taken to boil the maximum amount of water is not indicated on the device itself, but you should be able to estimate this parameter at least approximately, focusing on the volume and power. Of course, if this is a critically important characteristic for you, the functionality of the auto kettle rarely has a decisive influence on the choice of the device, but it is an additional comfort, which is never superfluous. It is important to remember that you will have to pay extra for it, and the question is whether a particular extra feature is worth the money. The size of the appliance largely determines its usability. If you boil water infrequently, and mostly during parking, there will be no special problems with kettles with the volume of 1 dot 5 liters, and this amount will be enough for all passengers. But if you like to drink a cup of coffee, getting to work in the early morning, you definitely do not need a large kettle, especially if the size of the car itself is frankly small. Many car owners prefer to buy budget car accessories, not puzzling themselves with simple calculations. What is more profitable? To change a no-name device every 6 to 12 months, or to use a more expensive but high-quality product for several years. Among the latter can safely include the products of the German company Waco, which in the old world has virtually no worthy competitors. Its specialization is auto kettles and auto coffee makers, which deservedly gained the fame of the most reliable, convenient to use, and durable. In particular, one of the most popular models of car kettles for cars can be called Perfect Kitchen MCK 75024, which has a power of 200 watts and allows you to boil 750 milligrams of water at a time. In the class of car kettles with a thermos function, Koto products are a worthy choice. Kioki products, well proven in Russia, characterized by an optimal ratio of cost to reliability, completes the top 3. In conclusion, selecting the right kettle for your car can significantly enhance your travel experience. By considering factors such as size, power source, and safety features, you can find a kettle that meets your needs and fits seamlessly into your lifestyle. Whether you're a frequent traveler or just enjoy the occasional road trip, the right kettle can provide you with the convenience of hot beverages on the go. Remember to prioritize quality and functionality to ensure you make the best choice for your adventures ahead. Thank you for watching, and safe travels.